Welcome to this explainer. If you're a policy leader or decision maker, we're tackling something absolutely urgent today: the massive, compounding financial leak in America's healthcare spending. Going through the source material, it's clear this isn't about political talking points. It's a fascinating, high-stakes look at systems engineering, accountability, and how a true structural inspection architecture might finally secure Medicare and Medicaid. Let's get right into it.
$100 billion. Let that staggering number sink in for a second. That is the estimated annual improper payment leak in our healthcare system. To put that into perspective, you could literally build 80 state-of-the-art regional hospitals every single year with that money. You could buy a major sports franchise every month and still have change left over. But, the most alarming part isn't even the sheer size of the number. It's that we've somehow just accepted this massive loss as a routine cost of doing business.
Now, the absolute crucial point we have to understand right out of the gate is that this massive loss isn't just a bunch of bad actors. It's a completely predictable outcome of poorly designed systems. As W. Edwards Deming, the pioneer of modern quality science, famously said, "A bad system will beat a good person every time." When you have trillions of dollars flowing through an incredibly complex network with tens of thousands of billing codes, well, relying on good intentions or retrospective audits is basically a recipe for a system designed to fail.
To map out a real solution, here's our agenda for this briefing. First, a structural design flaw. Second, the failure of incremental reform. Third, permanent inspection architecture. Fourth, proving value through pilots. Fifth, the high ROI investment case. And sixth, the 36-month legislative roadmap.
All right, Section 1, a structural design flaw. It's so easy to hear the phrase improper payments and immediately jump to, criminal fraud. But the data tells a really different story. Up to 85% of these staggering losses stem from the system's architectural design itself. We're talking about system errors, common cause variation, ambiguous coding rules, and poorly aligned incentives. If we keep treating an 85% structural problem solely as a criminal enforcement issue, well, that's exactly why our current efforts are completely missing the mark.
Moving on to Section 2, the failure of incremental reform.
So, why isn't the current approach working? Right now, we rely on episodic enforcement. It's totally retrospective. We wait for the money to leave the system, maybe discover an error months or years later, and then play the world's most expensive game of tag in a reactive pay-and-chase cycle. It's reacting to visible symptoms with a massive administrative burden. What we actually need is permanent structural inspection. This acts prospectively. It uses prepayment screening to prevent administrative drift and stop the loss before a single dollar moves, all at a fraction of the cost per dollar saved.
Which brings us to Section 3, Permanent Inspection Architecture.
To actually stop this leakage, we have to look at high-stakes environments, think aviation, to build a military-grade permanent inspection setup. At the core of this is continuous improvement science. And this isn't just corporate jargon, it's a rigorous discipline. It embeds real-time statistical process control and feedback loops right into daily operations to detect and prevent errors before transactions finalize. Instead of a post-game review, think of it as a real-time referee instantly catching deviations from historical norms.
How do we actually do this? Through PDCA cycles. Plan, do, check, act. First, you plan by setting targets and policy. Then you do, implementing it at a controlled scale. You check by measuring against pre-committed criteria, and finally, you act to standardize, adjust, or terminate. It embeds rigorous correction right into the daily workflow. This is exactly how high-stakes systems stop a small daily error from slowly drifting into a billion-dollar leak.
And to make sure those PDCA cycles are fixing the actual problems, we apply the 5 whys root cause analysis. When you keep asking why, you stop treating surface symptoms like individual fraud. You eventually uncover that claims are paid before detection because of a lack of real-time screening, which stems from fragmented federal-state oversight. Ultimately, you hit the true root cause, misaligned incentives that currently make non-compliance totally rational for some actors.
Okay, Section 4, proving value through pilots.
Before we overhaul a trillion-dollar ecosystem, we absolutely need a safe environment to test this, right? Enter the 24-month Sentinel State pilot. This is strategically designed to test real-time statistical screening in high-risk billing areas, all governed by strict, pre-committed success criteria. It proves undeniable value in a real-world setting, and crucially, lets us fail safely and adjust before scaling nationally.
Section 5, the high ROI investment case.
For decision makers, it always comes down to the financial justification, and the math here is honestly incredible.
We're looking at a maximum estimated annual investment of $1.3 billion, but the projected annual savings? $10 billion. And that's not a pipe dream. That $10 billion comes from merely a 10% reduction in improper payments. For every dollar spent on proactive structural inspection, the taxpayer gets an exponential return.
So where exactly does that investment go? We need an estimated $200 to $500 million for a national SPC infrastructure, basically a national claims analytics center. Then, $150 to $300 million for AI detection and governance. Another $100 to $200 million for state technical assistance, helping states align their systems. And finally, $50 to $100 million for a Healthcare Integrity Board. To make this work, there's a strict legislative need to secure multi-year funding outside of volatile annual budget battles.
Finally, Section 6, the 36-month legislative roadmap.
To capture these massive savings, we can't just flip a switch. It requires a meticulously planned 36-month chronological sequence. Months 1 to 6 are for laying the foundation and recruiting for the Sentinel State pilot. By month 12, we activate the pilot and configure the AI. Months 18 to 24 are for independent evaluations and pushing the Healthcare Integrity Board legislation. And then, assuming the pilot meets its metrics, months 24 to 36 are all about national scaling and an integrity compact.
But the immediate make-or-break focus is year 1, the groundwork. We have to pass the enabling legislation for the Healthcare Integrity Board. We must secure that multi-year funding. We urgently need to mandate shared interoperability standards for data, because right now, fragmented data is literally acting as a shield for inefficiency. We have to recruit those pilot participants and establish AI governance. Overcoming these specific legislative hurdles lays an unshakable foundation for everything else. So, as we wrap up this briefing, I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. We know the math. We know the root causes. We have the blueprint from other high-stakes industries. Will we continue to accept a massive, compounding $100 billion leak as just a routine enforcement problem? Or are we finally ready to step up and legislate the permanent structural architecture required to fix it for good? The tools are right here. The choice is yours.